Welcome to How You Livin', a transformative podcast featuring best-selling author, inspirational speaker, and minister, Dr. Rick Rigsby. And now, Dr. Rick.
Hello, friends. Thanks so much for listening today. I want to talk to you about living with common sense, especially considering the fact that common sense isn't so common these days. Our world's values could use a healthy dose of common sense. We live in an era where we value superficiality over that which is genuine, entertainment over learning, impression over impact. In fact, we'd rather look good than be good. And I believe that a prominent casualty of such a shallow, superficial culture is a lack of common sense. But what if I were to tell you that we can develop a greater capacity for common sense? It's not easy, and it's going to take some time, and it may even cost us something, but it's worth it. It is absolutely worth it. For not only will our lives change for the better, but those around us will be greatly influenced. My father was a perfect example of common sense. My daddy, the wisest man I ever met in my life, although he was just a third-grade dropout. From my father's simple life comes the tripod on which my definition of common sense is based. Looking at the life of this third-grade dropout, I believe the three elements critical to developing our common sense include intelligence, wisdom, and discernment. And the good news is all of these are learned behaviors. We can begin growing our capacity for these right now. First, let's begin with intelligence. There is a difference between knowledge and intelligence. Knowledge is to know something. Intelligence is how you apply that which you know. Knowledge is the collection of skills and information and experience that one has acquired. Intelligence goes to a completely different level. Intelligence applies those skills and all that information and all that experience. I want to use my dad as an example as I work through these definitions. My dad gained knowledge in a particular field. He was a cook at California Maritime Academy in Northern California. This academy graduated cadets every year to go into the maritime business. My father was a simple line cook. That was a skill that he learned. His duties included prepping and preparing for the breakfast and the lunch shift for all the midshipmen. In addition, the cadets were required to sail on an annual training cruise, about 3 months every year. During 3 decades of service, my father sailed all over the world. He sailed from the Tahiti Islands to Hong Kong, from Australia to New Zealand. In fact, on my birthday, some 6 decades ago, my father was passing through the Panama Canal when he got word via ham radio that he was a new papa. The knowledge he learned was not just confined to the mess hall, as they used to call the kitchen, but my dad became a citizen of the world. He learned about different people groups and their various customs and traditions. He also learned a great deal about geography. I can tell you that the lessons that my father learned were just valued treasures, not only to him, but to those of us that were in his orbit. That's called knowledge, and it's just knowledge until applied. Intelligence has nothing to do with aptitude or education level or GPA or even IQ. Remember, my dad was a third-grade dropout. It's important to note that intelligence is the application of that which we know, the ability to take acquired skills and experiences and apply them in a meaningful way. And boy, did my dad apply what he knew. He always had side jobs, for example. Remember, his basic job was as a line cook, but he always had side jobs, catering on the side, cooking for folks, for special events. These jobs generated much needed money for our family. I can remember when I graduated from college and I was so excited to begin my career as a television news reporter. My father's response, "I'm proud of you, son, but learn a trade so that you can fall back on." And his suggestion, cooking. I learned how to cook. to have a trade that I could fall back on. That's meaningful. That's intelligence. That's applied common sense. And I can remember the dinner conversations we would talk about the political structure of the Philippines all the way to marine biology of the Galapagos Islands. My dad used every experience, every skill as a learning opportunity, but he didn't just store knowledge, he applied that, even when it came to educating his family. My dad also applied the lessons from abroad that he learned. I can remember him delivering these to me oftentimes in lecture style, like, son, make sure you carry your wallet in your front pocket, or always keep your head on a swivel, or don't attract attention to yourself. All of these lessons came from all the trips abroad, all the cruises throughout the world. It's important to remember, friends, that you can have lots of knowledge, but not the ability to apply that knowledge has been described as one who is nothing more than an educated fool. Remember, intelligence, the application of that which we know. Thus, intelligence is a major foundational brick on which common sense is built, but it's not the only brick. The second fundamental component of common sense is wisdom. Wisdom is defined as the ability to use intelligence and experience to make good choices, to make good decisions, to make the right judgments. Charles Haddon Spurgeon, that famous English preacher, once noted that wisdom is the right use of knowledge. To know is not to be wise. For many a man has known a great deal, but they're all fools for it. Wisdom allows you to make better choices for you as well as others, and those choices often lead to significant contributions to family and friends and colleagues and various community members and all those you interact with. Wisdom, in a nutshell, helps us remain steady, keeps us on the right path, helps us keep the proper perspective. King Solomon is regarded as the wisest man who ever lived. I want you to listen to a few words from King Solomon recorded in the book of Proverbs. Make your ear attentive to wisdom. Incline your heart to understanding, and search for her as for hidden treasures. Watch over your heart with all diligence, for from it flows the springs of life. Put away from you a deceitful mouth, and put devious speech far from you. Let your eyes look directly ahead, and let your gaze be fixed straight in front of you. Watch the path of your feet, and in all your ways you will be established. For wisdom is better than jewels, and all desirable things simply cannot compare to her. Friends, our greatest quality that we can possess is wisdom. Wisdom not only keeps us grounded, wisdom not only keeps us centered, but wisdom helps us keep the proper perspective, helps us understand the world around us in good times as well as challenging times. We'll live better. We'll make better choices and decisions. We will tend to think more, merely not reacting, but thinking. Oh, and there's another added bonus to wisdom. The Bible says those who acquire wisdom don't just function with good conduct, they can expect to live a long life. When you live with wisdom, you elevate your life on a regular basis. You seek to improve every area of your life because you're constantly examining your life. Oh, Socrates was spot on when he said on one occasion, the unexamined life is not worth living. Friends, I have just described my father, Roger Rigsby, a man who applied his intelligence for one simple reason, to better himself in order for him to help others. Right choices, right decisions, good judgment. Those were the hallmarks of my dad's life. It was the kind of common sense that produced these lessons. Son, don't judge people. Be an hour early. You'd rather be an hour early than a minute late. Be kind, son. Be a servant. Be excellent. Remember, son, how you do anything is how you do everything. It's never wrong to do the right thing. And the greatest lesson my father taught me, son, just stand. No matter what, you keep standing. That leads us to the third foundational brick of common sense. It is the key to living a meaningful and productive life. It's called discernment. And I'll talk about that in an upcoming episode titled Common Sense 2.0. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Until we meet again, this is Dr. Rick, asking the most important question I can ask. How you living?
Are you ready to make an impact in your world right now? Do you want to stop existing and start living your best life right now? Dr. Rick wants to give you the first chapter of his best-selling book, Lessons from a Third Grade Dropout, absolutely free. Just go to www.rickrigsby.com/free gift to get the print or audiobook right now.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.